Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and today I am proud to bring you a special tribute edition of the UFO entity Enigma, and we'll be honoring the memory of Brad Steiger. And we have with us our explorers into mysteries in the unknown, starting with Tim Schwartz. Greeting, Tim.
Hey, thanks for having me tonight.
Thank you for being here. We have Apulia. Greetings,
Hey
Apulia.
there.
And Apulia regaled us with lots of tales I'd like to capture on future shows. So thank you, Apulia. We have Paul Dale Roberts, the one, the only, the inestimable. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fine, and I'm the paranormal ranger tonight.
Very awesome. And we have Michael Duncan, who has revealed his secret name, which we will not share. Greetings, Michael. How are you?
Yeah, you got it. Hey, thanks, Hercules. It's so nice to be with you guys tonight. I'm looking forward to all the stories. Although I didn't know Brad, Brad is a genius and was a genius. I guess maybe he still is somewhere. And his wife Francie, an absolute wonderful master and totally tuned into the divine. But looking forward to it. Thanks for including me, guys.
And thanks for being here tonight to share how Brad influenced and helped shape your particular life work.
Yes.
Now, I never met Brad Steiger, but I had a lot of interactions with him over the years. I reviewed a bunch of his books. The one most memorable to me in terms of my interactions with him was his Encyclopedia of Werewolves. I think it was called The Complete Book of Werewolves. It was a very thick book. And I remember that one. I had a lot of conversations with him and with his publisher, and we put together a podcast episode. It was very involved, and this was around the same time that I was doing reviews for Tim Schwartz and Tim Beckley. It was the movies era where we had the vampire movie and things like that. So that was happening around the same time. To put it in perspective. Um, Brad Steiger was one of the folks, just like Tim Beckley and just like Tim Schwartz and all of you guys, that I admired as a young person, and I wanted to be one of you. So Brad Steiger was one of the luminaries in my sky, and I read everything I could about him. And again, I was really glad to be interacting with him. One of the tragedies of my interactions with Brad were um, he had scheduled he was scheduled to do a show, but he had to cancel because they had some storms out west and they destroyed his houses, or his houses were very adversely affected. So he asked if we can, postpone it and do it like in a month or two. And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. But unfortunately, there was no month or two. He died during that particular time, so
Uh,
we never got to do the shows. So I'm grateful to have known him. I was able to let him personally know how much he influenced me and affected my life. So that's always a good thing when you thank the people who've had an impact on you. And I've been looking forward to doing a show honoring him for a great deal of time. So I'm glad we're doing it tonight. And we're going to start as we always start with Tim Schwartz, because Tim has a way of putting everything into perspective.
Oh, well, thank you, Hercules. I appreciate you allowing me to be with you all tonight to talk about Brad. And Brad was such a major influence on me. And the funny thing about it is that early on I had no idea that he was such an influence because when I first started becoming interested in the paranormal, it was because of people approaching me to tell me their paranormal stories. They thought I was interested at the time, when I was a kid, in UFOs because of an errant classroom assignment. But because of that, then people started coming to me kind of in secret to tell me their stories. So
Mhm.
I started then seeking out books about the paranormal and the occult, UFOs, what have you. Started out naturally with the library. Now I grew up in a small town in central Indiana, so our library wasn't the biggest, but it had a fairly nice a collection of books. And to tell you the truth, I can't remember if they had anything by Brad Steiger. But when I got a little older, in the this would have been like the late 60s, where I actually had an allowance, I started going to the local drugstore, which actually sold paperback books and nonfiction paperback books, something you don't see very often in drugstores anymore. And I started buying these books. And it wasn't until a few years later that I realized that so many of these paperback books that I bought were written by Brad Steiger.
Mm.
And uh,
Mm.
and in fact, I still have the first book that I ever bought from Brad Steiger, right there. It's called Voices from Beyond, and it was written in 1968. So I probably bought it in 1968, and I still have it after all these years.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
but and I still have a number of the other of paperback collections that Brad wrote. And I always loved them because they had these really great covers that had the cover was usually divided up into sections with illustrations, cartoonish type illustrations of the various stories that would be inside these books. And, anytime that I saw these, I knew that I was in for something good. And so as the years went by, when I realized that I enjoyed the works of Brad Steiger, I started actively seeking out his books. And at one point, he actually had like a Brad Steiger newsletter. This probably would have been, like maybe around 1970,
Mhm.
71. So I subscribed to it, and I wish I still had them. I mean, they basically were just probably, like, Xeroxed papers. Maybe not Xerox, maybe a little bit better than that. But unfortunately, he didn't maintain this newsletter for very long because he was busy. But I mean, we all know that Brad Steiger was his pen name.
Yeah.
His real name was Eugene Olson. So I can see why he decided to go with Brad Steiger, rather than Eugene. Uh, but
Yeah.
thankfully, because of Tim Beckley, I was able to meet and get to know Brad, and which was always just you know, it's just one of those highlights of my life to get to meet and to get to know somebody whose work that I had always admired and really influenced me, and influenced me on being a better researcher and investigator. Because there are a lot of skeptics who say that Brad was lazy at his work, that he would just write using sources that he never went and vetted, which is not true. Brad was a good writer and a good investigator, and kept copious notes from his work. And so, I mean, I took a lot of that ability from him to use in my own work, and I still try to, as the years go by and I'm working on things, I always try to think, how would Brad approach this subject? What are the questions that he would ask? What would be the historical implications of this work because Brad, one of the things that Brad taught me was that current stories are great, but they don't just happen in isolation. There's usually a long history of these type of things. Poltergeist, ghosts, UFOs, even. I mean, UFOs just didn't appear in 1947. Out of nowhere. No, I mean, they've been around as long as there have been eyes to see them in the sky. But again, thanks to Tim Beckley, I got to meet Brad and actually work with him like Paul. I wrote chapters for some of his later books, which again was such an honor to me that Brad would actually approach me and ask me if I wanted to assist him in contributing with these books and and I don't know if everybody knows this story, but there was a story that Brad always told me, which one of the reasons that my fascination with other intelligence that may live on the planet with us, call them fairies or what have you, came about because of an experience that Brad himself had when he was a kid. He told me that, and he's written about this, himself, but I mean, he told me that one evening he was actually sick in bed and the way that his bedroom window was positioned, he could actually see from it into the kitchen window of his house. And that evening, his mom and dad were sitting at the table having a discussion, but he could see outside of this kitchen window, there was a little man that he said looked kind of like the traditional, like Pixie, watching his parents, standing on his tiptoes with his hands on the window frame, kind of like stretched up, watching them talk. And he said at one point this thing realized that it was being watched and turned and looked Brad directly in the eyes, but then turned around and went back looking at his parents again. And Brad said that even though he was sick, he knew that this wasn't like a fever dream or anything like that. That it was an actual experience.
Mhm.
So that story always stuck with me, and and increased my own interest in the subject throughout the years. But I think one of the most fun experiences I ever had is I met Tim, Brad, and Sherry at their house in Iowa one winter, where Tim was going to go up there and visit him anyway, and asked me to come along and to bring my video camera so that they could do a video of all of them visiting various interesting locations around Brad's house. One of them being where, the Great Bopper and now I can't remember his name. Sorry about that, guys. Were killed in the plane crash.
Buddy Holly, was it?
Buddy Holly, yes, Buddy
Buddy
Holly.
Holly.
Yeah, that
The Big
happened not
Bopper.
Yeah, that happened not too far from where Brad currently lived at the time, and so we got this footage of them visiting this area, and then all of them singing, not at this location, but at Brad's house, singing Christmas carols of all things. Uh, and then Tim had me edit it, and Tim actually sold this DVD for a while through Global Communications. I can't even remember now what they called it, but that was just so much fun. I mean, it was it was relaxing, and it was just uh, uh, I don't know. I mean, it's just it's one of these points in your life where you just are. enjoying the company that you're with, Tim and Brad and Sherry, and it's just an experience that will always remain with me. And I wish, I probably have that DVD somewhere in my collection, but I have a vast collection, so it is buried somewhere. But again, this is I'm just so happy to see that that we are giving a tribute to Brad, because there are people now uh, 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 who are coming up who have no idea who Brad Steiger is, and he is just somebody who should not be forgotten, and whose work really needs to be embraced for its quality and how vast Brad's work was. I mean, he wrote about anything and everything. I mean, he was a paranormal writer. He wrote a biography about Valentino. I think that was maybe one of his first works that really got him any attention. And that book was actually then made into a movie called Valentino. I don't know how much, if anything, Brad made off of it. Most writers, well, when their books are made into movies, end up not making much off of it. But that's just the kind of guy that he was. I mean, he had all kinds of different interests. It wasn't just UFOs, paranormal experiences, and ghosts. And again, the fact that I got to know him and work with him will always be a major highlight of my life. And I'll stop it here, Hercules, and give somebody else a chance to ramble on.
Wow, I want to thank you. And I hadn't realized how much Brad had affected you as well. And I was thinking while you were talking about how much that fits into what I'm trying to do with these podcasts. I want everyone here to be recognized while they're alive, as well as being remembered when they're no longer here. So if there's any way we can do it better than what I'm imagining, I'm open to that, because I feel that all of us should be celebrated for what we do. And if the term invisible college wasn't already taken and overused, I would call what we're doing the invisible college, because we're keeping knowledge of a certain type alive and vital and accessible in different ways by studying it and recording it and sharing what we record, not only with each other, but with the greater public. So I'll let that be something that people think about as well. And I don't think I've shared this, but my own occult background comes in part from a esoteric theosophical group, one of Batsky's groups. And the medium was George Wagner, who wrote the book A Curious Life of Talbot Mundy. And he was the medium that communicated with Rudolph Valentino, and Natasha Rombova was part of his circle. So we live in a small world, and as Apulio was talking before too, I saw connections to some of the things that she was talking about. So that'd be interesting to explore. So thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you, Hercules.
And Apulia, we move on
Oh,
to
hi.
tons of stories you're sharing before.
Well, I don't have as many stories as Tim did, but I was excited to participate on this panel for the same reasons. One is to remember who Brad Steiger was. He was back in the 1980s. Through all his books, he made paranormal topics available to the general public. This was something that was not easy to find outside of specialty bookstores, at least in New York City. And he was known, whether the books were positive or negative, he was known. I personally did not know him, but I did get a chance to hear him speak on several occasions and even talk to him through Tim Beckley, as was mentioned. Tim knew everybody. Steiger's writing was readable, entertaining. The general public loved it. His books sold well. So I was also amazed when I did a little review of this, of him, just so I would get a better remind me of who he was, what he did, and why I liked him so much. I found that he wrote over 170 books. Imagine that. Not all on paranormal
Paralegal.
topics. That's what I do for a living. Um, and and you mentioned the biography on Valentino. He also wrote on Greta Garbo and on Judy Garland. People were interested in what he had to say. So here were books on the paranormal. If you had an interest in it, you might want to see what he had to say. He did some research on it. Perhaps he didn't qualify to be an anthropologist. I understand that he wrote a book on native spirituality, and it was panned by a well-known anthropologist of the day. But hey, how many people really know much about it or think about it or care about it? He put it out there. That's what made him such a great writer and such an influential person, in my opinion. Um, Tim Beckley put everybody out there for us to hear as well. So Brad was one of those speakers that he had. Um, I never would look at his book as Brad's books as a reference for my history schoolwork, but they were sure fun to read, and he was such a good speaker to enjoy. So maybe his books served as a springboard for more serious studies for many people. His book sold well, as I said before, and there was money to be made by pushing these types of books. That's what the publishers saw. So we got more of it. More power to him. And that's pretty much what I could say about him at this point. He was just someone worthy of being read and for history, if nothing else. And also, he shouldn't be forgotten. He did too much. So there's my thoughts on Brad Steiger.
Thank you. Excellent thoughts they are, and they widen the circle. Brad also pioneered the idea of alien beings or alien intelligences incarnating amongst humanity. And he did a series of books on star beings, and he gave a lot of questionnaires to people, and he compiled a list of various traits that star beings would have, and so forth. And that too, it's a very ancient idea, like Tim was saying, of demigods, or of celestials incarnating amongst humanity. So that eventually gave birth to the Wanderers, the Walk-ins, and the star seeds, and all sorts of other modern New Age doctrines. And then Brad was the one who established the foundation for that as well.
Yeah, and he also, I think walk-ins were written about by Edgar Cayce as well, who predated Brad Steiger, of course. But he was really a go-to for me. He wrote on conspiracy stories too. In fact, conspiracy theories. In fact, when I first heard about MK Ultra, I thought it was just another one of Brad Steiger's conspiracy theories that he was putting out there until I learned it was a real thing. So go figure.
Well, thank you so very much, Apulia. Paul Dale Roberts.
Yay! I'm sorry that someone was knocking on my door. It was my neighbor. They go, "Hey, can you watch our dog for a week?" Yeah, I can do that.
I was surprised my Chihuahua didn't add her 2 cents in, because she's here keeping company. Usually she hears dogs and she'll voice her opinion as well.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is a really, really good show tonight because Brad Steiger is one of my heroes. Brad Steiger is an OG. And if you don't know what an OG is, that's an original ghost hunter. And I met Brad. Well, first off, let me take you my childhood. I built this tree house in this oak tree in Monterey. And so me and a lot of the neighborhood kids, we used to go up to my tree house. And I would bring comic books and I would bring Brad Steiger books because in Fresno, California, I lived in this house that was haunted. So I was reading all the Brad Steiger books that I could because I wanted to know if the house was really haunted with ghosts or was it I was just having childhood nightmares. So from reading these Brad Steiger books, I learned a lot about the paranormal. And the other boys, they would come up to the treehouse and bring their Playboys. And they would look at me and they go, Paul, how come you're not looking at reading Playboys? And I go, I'm into Brad Steiger and Marvel and DC comic books. And they said, you know what? You're a real nerd. And yes, I am, you know. So I wrote this. Well, I got interviewed by this radio personality, and I told that story. And that story was placed into an article that the radio personality wrote. And Brad Steiger read the article and had a really good laugh because here's this little boy climbing up into his treehouse and reading his books. And he contacted me, and I looked at that email. And I thought it was a fake email. I go, "What the heck, Brad Steiger?" And I responded, and then what he was talking about. Then I knew it was Brad. I go, "Holy, it's Brad Steiger!" My hero. And I told Brad, I said, "Yeah, because of you, I got into the paranormal. I started reading all your books. I was terrorized by ghosts in Fresno, California, and I wanted to know if those were childhood nightmares. And I got into other things too. In 1968, I started reading Chariots of the Gods, Eric von Däniken. And so I got Brad and I got Eric, and I'm all into the paranormal. That's all I could ever think about. Wherever I traveled to, I wanted to know if this place was haunted or what. And uh, in one of the interviews that I had, um, the interviewer asked me, and they said, Paul, um, did you learn your ghost hunting skills through Jason Haas of TAPS, which is Ghost Hunters, or Zach Baggins from Ghost Adventures? I go, heck no, no. I said, I learned it from Brad Steiger. And they go, Brad Steiger? Oh my God. You don't know who Brad Steiger is? It's like, come on, this Brad is a freaking legend. And and then I had to explain it. I said, no, I I'm old school. I learned from Brad. My ghost hunting skills came from Brad. And because of Brad, Brad placed a lot of my articles in his books, which I was very honored. I
Mm.
met Timothy Beckley, another legend, Tim Shorts, a living legend. And so, in fact, I think it was Timothy Beckley and Brad Steiger did an interview with me on the radio. So I think Tim Shorts may have been on that one, but I'm not sure. But so yeah, Brad really impacted my life. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been a successful ghost hunter, UFO hunter, monster hunter, because in his books he covers everything: ghosts, demons,
Hmm.
guys, every kind of monster, Bigfoot to Loch Ness and the monster. I mean, whatever is abnormal or paranormal, Brad covered it. And another one, well, his wife, I really respect it, Sherry Hansen Steiger. She's a big animal lover. Well, Brad too, and I'm an animal lover. And she wrote a book about dogs, and she asked me to go ahead and submit a couple stories about dogs. And I wrote about my dogs. In fact, one of my stories about my dog made her cry. It was just a real sad story. And I love animals to the max. So, and Sherry, after Brad passed away, I never, well, when I was talking to Brad, Brad was talking about going into another home and they're going to kind of take care of him. And I didn't understand what he was talking about, but what he was talking about is he was going to a hospice. And I didn't
Oh.
realize that. And then when Brad died, I was shocked. I was devastated. And Sherry was constantly emailing me and talking about this and talking about that, and a very nice, warm-hearted woman. And then when she passed away, I was in shock. I was in shock. There was Brad, and then all of a sudden his wife Sherry's gone. And it's just, it was very, very sad. But Brad will always be remembered. I mean, he's written so much. There's so much information about Brad on the internet. He'll be in the cloud forever, So,
Mm.
um, I love the man, love Sherry, and yeah, because of Brad and Sherry, I got to know the two Tims, Tim Beckley, Tim Shorts, and now I got to know Hercules and the whole crew. So, Brad, I love you.
Thank you very much. That's fantastic. And again, the connection between things. How do you guys like the term torchbearers?
Mm.
I dub you all torchbearers. So
Yeah, I like it.
we'll start
Sounds
with
Sure.
that.
good.
Find something better. I'll find what it's called in ancient Greek, and that might even sound
Oh, wow.
yes. And how about if we nominate Tim Beckley and Brad Steiger, and then the other people that we honor into our Hall of Heroes?
Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's nice.
sure.
And again, if we
And
come
I'll,
up with a better
I'll
term, we'll use a better term. But that's the start. It was
I've
structured.
always looked at you guys as the knights of the round table.
Oh, I like that too.
One of the pagan people I know did a series of interviews with what she called the pagan elders, people like Margot Adler, Lady Olivia Robertson. What were some of the others? There's other people also that are well known. She did a series of interviews that were supposed to be published and never were. I mean, I could ask her what to do, but this is a person who might is has a whole list of people to, she called them the elders interviews, I guess. And they're important people, and people do forget. They're already forgetting. Tim mentioned it. People don't know who Brad Steiger is. You too, Paul. People don't know who he is, and he's very important. Very
Oh yeah,
important to
We
people.
have someone here with a publishing company. I'm sure a lot of these books are in the public domain and therefore printable. Tim, is there any way we could become the guardians of this knowledge and make it available to people who and keep it alive?
Oh, there's always a possibility. Yeah, you bet.
And a
It just
website where you can click on, as you mentioned before, you can click on each person and people can find out more about them. So instead of hearing snarky comments by 20-year-olds saying, "Oh, Tim Beckley, he's ancient," as if he was
yeah.
not worth listening to, or Brad Steiger, who the hell is he? These are important people. They can
right.
find out more about him.
And they
The
could
more on the internet, the better.
be our elders and our ancient ones.
Yes.
And
All right, I'm gonna have fun with this, and I welcome you all to play. So let's have fun with this together, and we'll come up with something really impressive.
you
And
know, I'm sorry, Hercules.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say that university libraries, they make sure that they immortalize certain authors and everything else. I had a simple comic book newsletter called the People's Comic Book Newsletter, and Bowling Green University Special Collections has the whole shamoo
Awesome.
of newsletters and stuff. So yeah, you can always immortalize Brad Steiger, whoever you want, Timothy Beckley, at these libraries.
Mm.
And just again, I'm not suggesting we do this, but it's an idea that actually happened. I have a theurgy show that's once a month, and I've gotten people who are theurgists together, and we discuss theurgical topics. Our conversations led to a Llewellyn book that's coming out in November, I believe, or August. I'm not exactly sure. But that started with our conversations, and it puts together 7 distinct ways of doing theurgy as an introduction and as a guidebook to people who might never have heard of theurgy. And we could do something similar with the show, with the topics that we're discussing. We could record it, and we could make sure that that has more permanent form than what we're keeping on the internet. Anyway, this is a conversation for off the air, so I'll just I'll proceed with today's topic. And but these are all things that I'm feeling very strongly we can think about and maybe try to do some of them. And now we go to Michael Duncan.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. It's so nice to be with you guys. I'd like to also put in a name for this project that you're talking about, William Blessing,
Okay.
who with the help of others wrote the Outer Space and Inner Earth People.
Mm-hmm. And that's
I'd like
published
to
by
put.
Tim Beckley's publishing house, if I remember correctly.
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah, I have a copy of it, and he was actually the mentor of my wife when she was a young child. Her grandfather was friends with William Blessing, and her dad was friends with William Blessing. They moved to Denver, Colorado when she was young and met up with the Blessings, who became really, really good friends. And it helped to shape her from age 5 on, shape her spiritual path. And he's got a book. He's got a book that he wrote, and I have a copy of it. It's called Votsa, V-O-T-S-A. It's Voice of the Seventh Angel, and it kind of encapsulates everything that he believed in. He interpreted the Bible a lot, but also talked about UFOs and inner Earth people and outer space people. So I wanted to put that in there. I don't want to take too much time, guys, but I did want to ask a question, Hercules, of you, and maybe others might know. Did Brad Steiger, did he coin the term star people, those actual words?
I don't know positively, but Paul seems to know, so we'll put it to Paul the question. Oh, you're muted, Paul. Does anybody know the answer to that question? I know he introduced the concept and he popularized the concept, but I don't know if he actually came up with the term or not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Brad Steiger coined the term star people. In fact, that information was at one time on his Wikipedia. But talking to Brad Steiger, he told me personally that he did coin that term.
Oh,
And also, too, one of my psychics, Wishfire, she's a star people, and she okay, she's very young, but yet she knew what star people was, and I said, "Oh my God, that's Brad Steiger. He came up with that." And she knew all about it, and I was very proud. Yay, you know about it. But and she's proven herself because she was a UFO abductee.
hey, thank you. Anyone else want to
Yeah.
to that? No? Okay.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry that the Brinkerhoffs couldn't come on tonight. I was kind of in their camp at the beginning because, to tell you the truth, before 2 days ago, I didn't know who Brad Steiger was. But Hercules, you've opened up so many new avenues of study for me. Like we had that show on the Pleiadians, and that just opened up so much. Because star people and star seeds and all that. But this opened up a lot for me too. What I did, Hercules, was last night I watched a YouTube video of Brad Steiger and Francie. Well, Francie comes on a little bit later, but it's a really great video from the early 80s, and his hair looks really cool. I mean, he's got a cool haircut. I don't know if you guys have seen that one, but it's a pretty cool haircut. But the interview he did with Francie was wonderful. I really, really enjoyed it. They talked about star people and star seeds, and it really I don't want to take too much time because you guys have a lot of stories and stuff, but what she was talking about and he was talking about regarding the star people and star seeds reminded me a lot of the Urantia book, because the way I present my ministry is through the Urantia book, which was published in 1955. But the Urantia book itself professes to have been written by star people, Melchizedek's, archangels, mighty messengers, brilliant evening stars. So I really enjoyed that talk because it really jives with everything that I try to present with the Urantia book. So, and then of course the Urantia book is called the fifth epical revelation. First epical revelation from star people would have been Caligastia, the planetary prince who came 500,000 years ago, according to the Urantia book, to uplift humanity, to improve or enhance civilization at that time. Second epical revelation would have been Adam and Eve, one of the Adams and Eves, that came about in 35,914 BC to, biologically uplift the race. I guess the Earth was ready at that time, according to the Urantia book. The third epical revelation would have been an entity known as Machiventa Melchizedek, who would work with Abraham to enhance our religious experience. Fourth epical revelation would be the local universe father, also known as Zeus, who would incarnate as Jesus 2,000 years ago. And then, according to the Urantia book itself, is the fifth epical revelation, helping us to unify our experience by taking into account and trying to marry together the concepts of science, religion, and philosophy. New age stuff. So, but anyway, appreciated that video I saw of Brad Steiger, and I'm going to delve into more of his work. It's and I did feel like he was an incredible researcher, and that he was able to make so many connections. His connections were fabulous. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And it'd be interesting to see what Brad had to say about the Urantia book, since it was certainly here while he walked among us. And he's written extensively on different celestial UFO spiritualities. I have several books by Brad Steiger that focus just on that topic alone. So it'd be interesting to see if the Urantia book was included amongst the groups that he studied.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because his wife, Francie, she was talking about how when she was 5, she met an angel, and that angel has spoken to her and affected her whole life. And she said that this angel was her higher self. And that's kind of like the concept in the Urantia book of the thought adjuster that's very popular in the Urantia book, about a fragment of God being like an entity that helps us to gain knowledge and improve us. And then I also liked that they talked about that God has a plan for all of us, and that we're all evolving back to be one with God again. I liked that, and that's very Urantia book, Ian. So anyway, thank you guys. Thanks.
Thank you as well for sharing your thoughts with us and for being here tonight. And before we go to the contact information, is there anybody who'd like to add or close with anything, any thoughts that have come up through the conversations of all those here present?
Yeah, Hercules, I wanted to say, just this occurred to me during the others' conversations. One of the things that Brad really turned on to me was the concept of unknown or mysterious archaeology. All right.
Mm.
He wrote a number of books dealing with mysterious ancient artifacts. Things that were dug up that archaeologists have no really good classifications for them, as well as monolithic mysteries. Things like that. To me, he was the one that really opened my eyes to the idea that our past, our ancient past, is not as cut and dried as the like scientific books uh, want us to believe. And Brad wrote a lot about Atlantis and ancient civilizations and things like that. And at the time, I guess I'd always thought that those were just fairy tales or mythologies that had passed down. But Brad, I mean, he went through a lot of trouble to uncover a lot of these ancient mysteries that even today still don't have any proper classifications or identifications. And while he wasn't the first to suggest that we may not be the first technological society on this planet, when I was a kid, he was probably one of the first that brought that subject out to popular types of books, these
Mm-hmm.
paperback
Mm-hmm.
books that a lot of us, were reading. And, and at the time, those kind of ideas really would just get stomped on and torn apart, by the, college professors and
Right.
stuff who never themselves really took the trouble to analyze the evidence like Brad did. I mean, they stuck with the status quo, while Brad was not afraid to ruffle the feathers, so to speak. It's like, well, these societies weren't supposed to have, say, like iron tools to be able to carve these rocks out. Yet there's really good evidence that these rocks were carved out with iron tools. The tools have never been found, but there are the markings on the rocks to show that something a lot harder than copper or bronze, was being used. So it's stuff like that that Brad was really so good at, opening the eyes of young readers to not be afraid to examine these mysteries that are presented to us every day. And that's, to me, that's what makes life so much fun. Is are these mysteries, and Brad, I think, was really responsible for bringing these concepts
Yeah.
to me and other people, including Paul and Paul and everyone else on the tonight's panel.
He was a great popularizer.
Yes.
He
He was.
might have read certain things somewhere and he saw, oh, this is worth looking at. That's exactly what you're saying. And
Yeah.
then in his books, he would add to it and people would be more involved with it. I was just thinking there was a man called Ian Stevenson, who was a popularizer, or was very interested in Bigfoot and other things. And I think he was a college professor who then got booted out. I'm trying to think. I'll have to look it up. I thought it was CCNY. He was uh, he was looked down on for such theories. Today, there's people still looking at forgotten uh, forgotten types of animals that still exist, and once in a while they find them. So Brad was along those lines, a great popularizer.
Mhm.
And that's important because it keeps the ancient lore alive
Right,
in the popular culture, like comic
right,
books. So Paul and I have had this conversation. Comic books are based on many of the old mythologies.
yeah,
They're not exactly the same as the old mythologies, but it takes the old mythical concepts and heroic concepts and the archetypes and keeps them alive and relevant in our world
right.
today. keeps it living in the popular culture, which is where these myths lived in antiquity, in people's popular culture. They were on vases and cups, and they had
Hmm.
statues and little figurines that people collected, and we're still doing that today.
Yeah, he was looked down for those reasons, but I'm glad that people read what he wrote. We should keep him alive. And there's lots of new things that somebody may come along, find one of Brad's theories and expand on it, and we'll learn more and keep it in, as you said, in the popular culture.
And we will
Mhm.
do that. And if anybody knows when Brad's birthday is, we'll make that our holiday with Tim
It's
Beckley as well.
February, Hercules. It's February 19th, 1936.
Okay, February 19th. And when is Tim Beckley's birthday? Does anybody know?
I don't know.
Oh, I
We'll
used to
find
know.
out. And then we got two
Yeah,
holidays today.
it was sometime in July. I know
Okay.
that.
So,
Yeah.
so the holidays now as we speak. All right, I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this, and if you guys want to have fun with it too, you're welcome. You're welcome to. But it'll certainly affect the phraseology of how we open and
Oh,
close shows and transition from person to person. Paul, do you have anything you want to add before we
oh,
close?
oh, one thing. Tim's birthday was March 4th.
Oh, March
March.
4th.
Okay.
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 Get some of the Brad Steiger's books. I mean, here's one of them, Werewolf Stories, and he collaborated with Nick Redfern.
Oh, great. I've talked to Nick. Nick's been on the show too.
The Werewolf book, Brad Steiger.
That's the one I reviewed and had lots of lovely conversations with him and his
Oh yeah,
publisher.
Real Vampires. But anyway, I got some more back there, but I'm not gonna take up the time. But yeah, so if anyone wants to contact me, in every one of my articles, I have my paranormal hotline, telephone number, and email address. And all, if you want to find the articles, just Google or Bing Paul Dale Roberts. And that's it.
Thank you very much. And Michael, how can people contact you?
Yes, I have my wife and I created a YouTube channel. It's Michael, second word, and third word is Diane, Dianne, and the last name, Duncan, Dunkin. So Michael and Diane Duncan. We have over 130 videos of our celestial team meetings with Lord Maitreya and Zeus and Hera and Aphrodite and Gabriel, all kinds of wonderful celestials and angels with whom we spoke. And also we have some paintings and my songs. I'm a singer-songwriter. Have some of the songs on the YouTube channel. I have 5 albums and an EP that I've published. They're on Amazon, iTunes, Spotify. You can just Google my name, actually, Reverend Michael Duncan, and those will pop up. And my email address is michaelduncan1@hotmail.com. And look for my book that'll be coming out within the next few months. It's The League of Azure Blue Angels.
Awesome. We'll definitely have to devote an episode to its release.
Thank you.
And Apulia, how can people find you?
Well, if anyone wants to get together to chat about ghosts, J.R. Tolkien, other types of fantasy and spirituality in general, you can email me at apulia2001 at protonmail.com, and Apulia spelled Apulia 2001 at protonmail.com. I'll be happy to chat with you and add you to my Facebook page.
Thank you very much. And Tim Schwartz, the legendary, how can people enter your wonderful world?
Oh, sure. Well, you can find all of my books. Probably the best way would be on Amazon.com. Just type in my name, Tim R. Swartz, and they'll all come tumbling out for your reading pleasure, both print and ebooks. Our most recent book is called Weird Time: Exploring the Mysteries of Time and Space, and it has a website which is weirdtimebook.com. And if you want to email me, you can email me at trswartz, and that's SWARTZ, trswartz at gmail.com. And I need to mention that Tim Beckley's niece, Michelle, is working on bringing back the Conspiracy Journal website. Uh, I used to control that, but she's got someone now who's actually better at website development and things like that. So
Mhm.
hopefully in the near future. The Conspiracy Journal website will be back online, and she's talking about bringing back the old catalog, that print catalog that Tim Beckley used to put out. So we're keeping our fingers crossed that that maybe she'll be able to revitalize Tim Beckley's work once again.
That'll be great, and I hope they don't prevent people from linking to it. I know on Facebook for a while, they wouldn't allow links to the Conspiracy Journal, so I hope that that's no longer the case.
Yeah,
Hey,
we'll see.
Hercules,
Yes, sir.
Hercules, I have a question for you. Tim Beckley had a newsletter. It was a electronic newsletter that went out on email. Does anybody have the collection of all his newsletters
No.
archived someplace?
I don't know. Tim, would you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was the one who put out that newsletter, so
Oh,
I've a lot of it is still on the Conspiracy Journal websites, but like I said, right now they are actually in the process of working on it, so
Mhm.
it's not accessible. But again, hopefully they'll be back online and available again in the near future.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you to everyone. We welcome Brad Steiger to join Tim Beckley in our Hall of Heroes. And Torchbearers, I thank you all for sharing your memories, the memories that keep the light of these individuals alive and vital in our world and accessible to the memories of future generations. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you so very much for being here. I've learned from you all, as always I do, and I admire you all. Take good care.
Thank you,
Hold
Hercules.
high the torch.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Good night. God bless.